We are very happy, Brian and I and Hippocrates, to be sponsoring this amazing 10 days. I mean, it's just a gift to humanity. And I want to talk about the road to 100. So I'm in my 67th year. And yeah, well, I'm going to talk about centenarians. So I'm just a teenager. But, you know, it's fascinating to learn about life. And so we'll have some answers here, you know, because why do we age and how do we age? And is there a limit? And, you know, we're constantly thinking, maybe I can cheat death. And, you know, we can't. But science is constantly on a quest to get more answers and to tweak our genes and our diet and our environment. And so is there a limit? Well, you know, a lot of people, especially that have come to close to 100, they have realized that there is a lot more in their life that what's more important than, you know, their genes. And so I want to take you through the journey here. And we start with the road here. And so aging remains a mystery. But a lot of answers have been given us through the years. So the first single cell organism from which all life descended from arose about 3.5 billion years ago. And the Earth came about 4.6 billion years. And the living beings were the blue algae and bacteria. And what happened was that blue algae was the first to be able to perform photosynthesis. And as most life then it was purely in the sea, algae came up on land and plants started to grow. And as they now started to get DNA and RNA, then we actually could start complex organisms. And we, human beings, are actually a breed between Neanderthal from Northern Europe and Denisovans, which would be from Southeast Asia. But the oldest fossils that's ever been found is like 2.5 million years ago from Ethiopia, which most scientists believe that we actually wandered out from one day. And we came to, you know, different time, and obviously we were nomads, and we came to different parts of the world. And my dad always joked about people coming up to Northern Europe. It's, you know, maybe they were criminals, maybe they couldn't be in the sunny places and the beautiful places, and they decided to come up in cold winters. So, you know, we normally would be, in this time of the year, we would be probably in tropical place like Florida, where we are at. And in summer, we would leave Florida and we would be up here. And we would find the food, the nourishment that was available for us. And now the earth that we inhabit is with at least 9 million species, and, you know, 13,000 new ones are found every year, right? And is by mid-century, approximately, we will be 10 billion people here, and times are rapidly changing, and we must adjust to this new reality too. So futurists predict that by 2050, our society will be living holistically, in harmony with nature. Well, so how's that going to happen? Well, the first probably the next 25 years will be very much into innovations, like we want cars that are electric. We want them to drive totally by themselves. We want computers to be so small, like little chips. And so there will be much more of that, like it has happened. But then, as our environmental resources are dwindling, I mean, they will be dangerously dwindling. We're talking about water. We're talking about our soil. We're losing tons of topsoils. And we're losing good air. And we're losing our health, the biggest problem we have. So we will be forced to live holistically. And this is actually predicted by many that it will happen. And I hope it happens much sooner than 2050, don't you? Much, much sooner. And we really want to be a part of this. So a 60% increase in food production will be required, which mandates the need to consume sustainable plant-based vegan diet. It is not going to be sustainable to eat animal-based food. It takes like 1 acre for a cow to use for food, and for 1 acre we could feed ourselves for a whole year. So it's not going to be sustainable. And now, because we're so much into sprouting, and we don't even need an acre, we could feed much, much more people on an acre with sprouts, and we could grow it ourselves. So looking at the future by 2050, yes, again, 27% of the world's energy comes from solar power. And the first solar highway is actually built in China. People can drive on a solar highway. You know, it just makes you think, why isn't Florida? Why isn't California? Why aren't all the places that especially have a lot of sun making solar highways? We could really enjoy that. Denmark, looking at wind power, Denmark is actually, out of all countries, the one that will be the first one to be carbon neutral. And, you know, most countries have wind power, but little Denmark with 5.5 million people have really pushed it, and they could more or less be independent. So, you know, there's so many alternatives out there. So our species, yes, they begin in the womb, developing physically, emotionally and spiritually, our senses, personalities, and strengths, as well as limitations manifest patterns early. And, you know, we wonder why we don't remember, how come we can't remember the first years of our life? It's something called infantile amnesia. And that's because the young brain is making so many new neurons, and it blocks access to old memories. And that came out of Children's Hospital in Toronto. And, you know, it's interesting. Now, then Harvard scientists reported that temperament in one's young youth determines health outcomes one way or another in maturity. And they found that the ways young men at Harvard explained bad events predicted health outcomes decades later. So imagine, it reflects patterns of coping with negative life events and stresses. And Brigham and Young just came out with their longevity research, and they found that close relationships was absolutely the most important. Relationships, positive, optimistic attitude, socially active, and so on. And so there's so many ways to look at how longevity would work for us. And cancer and heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer, are the main culprits causing early demise. Well, people are living longer, but we're living with many diseases. So diabetes actually takes more lives than AIDS and breast cancer. it takes, on average, it takes like 1 American life every 3 minutes. Every 3 minutes, it takes an American life. So our average life expectancy now stands by 75 years old. And we have neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer, and it actually involves these damaged proteins that is called amyloids that builds up and in the brain. And normally amyloids should not stay long, but it does for some. And then you hear about neurons, so you have 100 trillion neurons in your brain, and they should be communicating perfect with each other, but they become a cluster, so the communication is not functioning well. And amyloid, of course, is a big part of this. And when it comes to autism, it rose by 123% between 2002 and 2012. And Brian and I have had autism programs at the Institute. A lot of families come, of course, with children with autism. A lot of families have been successful, and you can look up on our website about these events. And, there's so many reasons. Of course, you have Dr. Seneff at MIT who found about high fructose corn syrup being the major reason, which is in so many of the products we've been eating. And then you have glyphosate, Roundup, and Roundup is, a lot of people have it in their household. A lot of people are using it in the garden. And of course, it's used on a lot of the food. Even one more reason to go organic, 100%. You don't want to feed your children anything that has Roundup on it, right? And then it's environmental causes, and it's allergies. So there is a lot of reasons. Vaccines. And, so you probably heard a lot about vaccines, and the latest came out yesterday where scientists found that we often think that the vaccine that we took is going to keep us immune for the problem that we just took it for life. And if it's taken before 2 years old, it doesn't. It doesn't, because we're changing so much. So a lot of research have been done, and of course, Al Bigtree did an amazing movie called Waxed. And if you're interested, you can look at that. So, and they found that glyphosate, for example, when they tested kids with autism, they had high levels of dopamine in their urine. And the more dopamine, the greater severity of the autism symptoms they had. So, and dopamine interferes with the metabolism of neurotransmitters. If it's in, it is a neurotransmitter, but suppressing it, for example, with Ritalin and other medications, could suppress other metabolism of neurotransmitters, and neurotransmitters are substances that actually relay electrical signals from one part of the brain to another. And it was very much due to glyphosate. So hopefully you learn to give your kids organic food, vegan, plant-based food. There's so many reasons. We'll get that. New England centenarian study recently published that the majority of centenarians do not smoke, do exercise, and consume greatly plant-based diet. And per capita, the US has the most 100-year-olds. And it's very much, we're a wealthy country, we have a lot of immigrants, and we have somewhat a good health. So US is first, and we live more or less in Florida. We live in New York, of course, and California. And then behind us comes Japan and France and UK and China, by 2050, will outdo us all. It will have the most. And 60% of centenarians lives in nursing homes. And this report revealed that more than 80% of those long-lived people were women. Oh, sorry. Well, and why do women live longer than men? I think we're now in a time where we have the same diseases. When it comes to cancer, when it comes to heart and strokes, we're kind of coming up in the same numbers, but we do tend to live a little bit longer. And so somebody said, well, we have the 2X, we have 2 X's. Men have an X and a Y. So maybe that has to do with that we have double copies of our genes. And of course, women for the Institute, more women come to the Institute than men. But men are starting to come. Well, a lot of women drag their men to the Institute to enjoy. And they are surprised what they go through. And, just yesterday I sat with couples who where the wife more or less dragged them there because they wanted to share this experience with them, and they wanted them to be healthy. They don't want to outlive them by tons of years. They want them to be with them for forever. Of course, I want Brian and I want us to be together forever. I can't imagine a life without him. So that's a good thing that's starting to be more and more now. But for a long time, women were the ones. Of course, we are the nurturers, and we give birth, and we, more or less, we nurture our family with the foods and care. But that's starting to change big time. And you know that you men have the same instinct when it comes to raising a child. If you were forced to raise a child from birth, like somebody just gave birth, but you had to raise the child from then, something changes in your brain and you become the mother. You become. So it's starting to be much more that men can take care just as well. We just kind of got into that it's totally a woman's thing. So I think everybody needs to be involved in raising a child. It takes a village to raise a child. We have 4 kids, and they have been raised at the Institute, of course, and they have been raised by a lot of our students and guests that have been there through the years, which has been great. So previously, genes were considered to be predictions of longevity. Science have now discovered that long-lived individuals have the same genes, but they do not trigger disease. So they have the same genes, but they do not trigger diseases. So they have the same genetic variants as the average population, but they are aging slower. And when they get disease, it develops at the end of their life, around 100. So the oldest known woman actually was Madame Calvert, and that she, 1997, died, but she was 122 years old. And of course, we hear stories about people being much older, but because they don't have the birth certificate and knows exactly. So what's happening? They handle stress better. They have no significant changing in their thinking abilities. And they have a positive outlet, I think outlet too in many ways because of family. So epigenetics, which is lifestyle, mind, movement, and food combined with environment and life activities either turn off or turn on the genes of early demise. So New England centenarian study that was done last year, 2017, is the largest study in the world, and it's about super centenarians, and they had 150 super centenarians. You have to be 110 or older. And they made great life choices, and they have actually a microbiota that's different. So, you hear about microbes, how important this is. And this came out of Cork, Ireland at the university, and they found that we are born with 100 trillion microbes, and this study shows more and more now how important this is in our whole well-being, and that when you are older, it's even more important. So, so a lot of people come to our institute, and this is the number one. They have poor digestion, poor elimination. So how is this happening? Well, they don't eat enough fiber. If I don't eat enough fiber, I will be malnourished. So what they found with centenarians, their microbiota is amazing, totally different. So that is a big deal that we need to start to work on. You start on living food, which is the most nutritious food in the world. You are changing that. And so people tell me after 3 weeks, as our program is 3 weeks, it takes much longer, of course, to really change habits. But 21 days, you're on the road. And people say, it's functioning. My digestive tract, oh my God, it's never been this good. Well, we use a lot of probiotic and enzymes and a lot of other supplements, but the food is the main, the exercise, the happiness going through psychology, having somebody to talk to, and private, that will actually guide you to where you need to be. Every day I sit with people that say, I am happy, I finally found myself. And so there's a lot of roads that lead to Rome, right? And so we're not all just going to improve because I'm eating live food. No, it might be the exercise I did. It might be the herbs I took. It might be the sleep I finally got, because a lot of people don't sleep enough. And you can talk to centenarians, they sleep well. They go to bed and they sleep well, and they go to bed early. Most centenarians, for sure, have chosen a good lifestyle. And the more it is the same, that we have something called the Circadian Rhythm, and if we eat all the time in different times, if we sleep all the time in different times, we really rock that Circadian Rhythm, and diseases can come in. So, even in Finland, when it comes to exercise, and they studied men and women that were 66 years old, they found that the more muscle, the stronger muscles, the better mental health. So, we definitely have everybody go to the gym. Unless you have a farm and you can work on that, you don't need to go to the gym, but the rest of us go to the gym. Like Brian and I was at the gym this morning and worked out. So it's very, very important, especially for women. We have less bone mass. We got to keep our muscles strong, our bones. And when I lift something, and I always say this, when you have a newborn, they weigh maybe 8 pounds. Anybody can carry 8 pounds. Well, then they go up to 20 and 40 and 60. Well, I stopped carrying all over the place after 5, but you get your strength. And I look at our 2 daughters, and they are only like 5 feet, and they're carrying their big babies, and they just get stronger and stronger, because as I put resistance on my muscles, my bones get the message, get stronger. So it's all about that. And it's a nourishment. So resistant is a nourishment. So let's go to the next. Okinawans. Of course, one of the longest living groups on Earth, and along with 5 other groups of people that are known as the Blue Zones. They reveal that they flourish on high plant diets, jovial culture, happy culture, and constant movement and exercise. So they have 40% fewer hip fractures than Americans. And we have a lot of times we die after a hip fracture. It can be very dangerous. And they have 40% fewer. They have higher sex hormones like DHEA, testosterone, and estrogen, and they have lower cholesterol. And they have low homocysteine, which is a cardiac test. And their BMI is less than 23. 23 is slim. And they found that even siblings of centenarians, of Okinawans, got 12 years more. So you should have been a sibling of Okinawans. You get 12 years more, actually. So the Mayo Clinic declared that aging well could be greatly enhanced on a molecular level with high-intensity interval training. So when you walk Nest, what they found is if I do 3 minutes fast walk, 3 minutes slower walk, 3 minutes fast walk, it really, really boosts your immune system. So, again, the fiber, they eat much more fiber than most Americans. And if I don't have enough fiber, guess what? I now invite something called subpopulation. These are the bad guys. These are the amoebas, the parasites, bacteria, E. coli. I just invite them. And so you wonder how some people don't get that. And some people get everything. They go to hospital, they get MRSA, they get C. diff, they are inviting everything because they didn't have a good base to begin with. So gut microbes is very, very important, and the older we get, the more important. And it's actually important for our cognitive function, for our thinking. So gerontologists report the paradox of old age is remembering the good experience, easier and better than the bad. And this is a common trait of long-lived people. And 83% of people 80 to 90 years old are actually living at home. They are mainly women, but men are more likely to live in with somebody. But most of these centenarians are not in nursing homes. Dana Harman, Nobel laureate, discovery of free radical damage and the profound effect that antioxidants have in preventing premature aging and disease. And Nobel laureate Warburg's discovery of oxygen levels and the creation of disease such as cancer provide the blueprint in creating long life. And amazing research, and of course so much makes sense about this, and we find it every day in our work that this is exactly true. And aging represent the intersection of a gradually failing system, which was formerly for early growth and reproductive fitness. And cumulatively, this stunts growth depending on the epigenetics of suppressive causes such as radiation, erosive microbe, etc. So this depends on homeostatic mechanisms, which are necessary to provide functions throughout life. You have stem cells that constantly repair and maintain our tissue. And a lot of research are done about stem cell, and we work with stem cell institutes around us, and can see, on top of everything that lifestyle has with the exercise, diet, psychological sessions, and really working on our attitude about what's happening. We can't change other people, and a lot of people want to change everybody around them, but that obviously doesn't work, but we can change ourselves and our attitude about life. So it's been found that We keep our mental ability when we lead lives that are not only physically healthy, but also intellectually challenging. And we need to be socially engaged. So marriages has shown in many tests too, of course, that having a pal or having a friend really close is very, very important for our well-being. In many forms, not only that we share life together, but, and how monogamy, that it actually came about when there was lethal threat to mom and baby. And so we women would choose some strong male that could protect us, probably an alpha male. And, it seems like it's been working pretty good, the monogamy in our life, right? So Hippocrates has been acutely vigilant in applying 5 major methods to prevent premature aging. And, most people live on substances. Most people, if you see what's sold in a supermarket, it's just substance, right? It's not food. So living food is the natural diet that we have been using for 7 decades. And we also share this with all other 9 million species who choose to eat uncooked food. And an old saying is, maybe God did a mistake when he made the food. Maybe we have to process it. We have to make it better. Maybe it just didn't come out right when it comes to food. Hyperbaric, we've used for over a century. No, not us, but it's been used for over a century. We've used it for probably at least 35 years in the conquest of wound healing, amazing, microbial remission, and bone healing, and cancer, and MS. And I never forget, long time ago, when the first hyperbaric chamber came to one of the major hospitals in Sweden, probably 40 years ago. And hyperbaric, of course, if you're a diver, you know it for the nitrogen, and you need to survive, you need to go in hyperbaric. Well, so much more. So this physician was talking in Sweden, and he said, oh my God, now not only can I work on, and it's a big one, probably 8 people can sit. The one that we use is for 1 person, but he can use it for MS. He can use it for diabetes, and of course ulcers, and people who had bone fractures and wounds of all kinds. And a lot of times people have wounds from diabetes, and it leads often to amputation, and it could heal, and Parkinson, and you name it. So it has such a big use, and we're very happy to use that a lot. Then we have supplements, and supplements are nutrients that supports your body. And of course, supplements needs to be from plant-based. You can't just go and pick up supplements in a store and think that somebody really has been looking after you, and that it's 100% plant-based and it's alive. I want to put a supplement under microscope, which I did for 20 years, and I want to see it alive. So if it isn't, it is toxins, and your immune system will attack it as an invader. Your immune system has a one-track mind. It will attack anything that doesn't have frequency. You are electric, and all your food that you take in should respond to your frequency. Cooked food has none, right? So, like Brian calls it, the hope. Living food has hormones, oxygen, phytonutrients, and enzymes. And if I cook it, there's none of that. And if I now have a problem, let's say that I do have cancer, let's say that I have diabetes, I have arthritis, and I have psoriasis, or I have Lyme, I don't want to cook the food. I don't want to ask my immune system to attack what I just ingested, because it will. It has a one-track mind. It will attack. It's called leukocytosis, and it will attack the food that came in. So what if I'm healthy now? well, then at least 80% of my food should be raw. 20 could be plant-based, vegan, cooked food, which would, it would be a balance if I'm healthy. But, so what we see at the Institute, of course, is that we need to support people from all kinds of walks. Some are very healthy, and some have come after they tried everything else out there, and they come for our support. And so that's very much what we have found. So IVs we also do, and of course IVs expedite recovery. And for the last 5 years we use something called NuCalm, and that's to advance immune function too. And it's the cutting edge technology, and it's been studied by Harvard and clinically proven to produce deep states, like beta states of calm. And so it activates interferon, activates your immunity, and really helps people relax, really helps people sleep better. So I'm going to show you a few of our guests here.
So it's really the best thing I ever did in my life. Not only the Life Change program, but also the Health Educator program.
I can't really explain it, but this is a magical place. It happened for me.
I had lost 10 pounds over the weeks that I was here, and it had a sparkle in my eye, I guess, and I said, well, I changed my life. Hippocrates changed my life.
What's been most interesting to me and most exciting is how Hippocrates Health Institute focuses not only on your physical body, but also your mental and spiritual aspect to your health.
And it's been over 14 years, and I haven't had any issues at all with cancer. And I can tell you, if I hadn't changed my lifestyle into using the raw and the living foods, most likely I would not be here speaking today. So it's helped me tremendously, and I've seen many people with this lifestyle do extremely well.
I can do.
Okay, so our formula is to lead people to stay young, is for them to leave behind fear and pain and suffering and embrace positive, progressive habits. Well, so a Swedish cardiology research showed a dramatic difference in mobility when a person supplemented with CoQ10 and supplements, selenium. So these nutrients are renowned for their heart and cell-protecting properties. There's no doubt that when you take them, you will get the benefits that has shown in major studies and over the past several decades. And there's so many supplements out there. And of course, if anybody right now is on cardiovascular medicine, from statin drugs to blood pressure drugs, you name it, you need to be on CoQ10 and selenium, and you find the best products out there, because you wipe out CoQ10, and it's a major part of every cell in your body. So, and I could talk about supplements all day long, but you will probably hear much more during this conference. Of course, at the end of the day, I want to have foods that are alive. I want to eat foods from the land. I want to eat organic, and I want to support organic farmers, and go to the farmers market, go to the farmer that maybe is right to the farm. So support them, and there will be much more need for that. In Sweden, many, many years ago, maybe 40 years ago, we realized that our groundwaters were destroyed. And people kind of take for granted that well water is very good. I mean, you have your own well, and you have deep wells in Sweden. We have high granite, so you got to go very deep. And then we realized, no, that water is not good for you anymore. So then the government put a woman in charge of organic farming, meaning that if we could support the farmers that were using heavy pesticides, fertilizers, and chemicals, and GMO didn't even come to the fruition then at that time. But then the government would support each farmer to become organic. And so that went on for a long time, because it takes at least 3 years for a farm to be called pesticide-free, and it would take 7 years to become organic. So they would support that. So Nobel laureates Blackburn and Grieder and Shostak pioneered the work on telomeres. You probably heard about this. How their erosion determines lifespan. It's now known that the enzyme telomerase protects and repairs the tips of the chromosomes and prevents breakdown, because telomeres get shorter every time a cell divides. It could increase the risk for some cancers. So telomeres is the first protection and to threats, but also very easy to damage. And they found that telomeres must maintain a certain length for the cells to be able to continue to divide. Everything in life is dividing. And you know, when we started to nuke our food, probably 30, 40 years ago too, you know what radiation does to your food. And you go into a normal supermarket, except organic, it will actually be nuked. The meat, the fish, the chicken, the fruits, the vegetables will be radiated. Radiation stops cell division. So it actually stops the division of cells. And of course, if you think about it, why it's used with cancer to stop cell division, then it stops cell division for a lot of other good cells too, right? But it's horrendous that we still allow that. And it's, if you go into most supermarket, that will be done. Publix, our big supermarket in Florida, so happily said that that's what we're going to do. That was about 30 years ago when we came down to Florida. You know, the Institute started in Boston, 1956. Of course, Ann Wigmore is our founder. She healed her stage 4 colon cancer and opened up the Institute in Boston, 1956. We moved it down 1986, opened 1987. Well, just around that time, that's when Publix said, we're going to nuke all the food. So now you don't have to worry about E. coli and staph infections and so on. I think you should worry much more. So Blackburn of UC, he has developed a nutrient protocol protecting both the chromosomes and you from premature aging. And it's really similar to everything we've been using and making for so many years. You know that 52% of Americans think that it's easier to do taxes than to figuring out how to eat healthy? I know, can you believe it? Okay, so 1/4 of us eat fast food daily. 1/4 of Americans eats fast food daily. And we consume about a ton of food a year, and 31% of that is packaged. And you know, you packaged any food, even if it's fresh from the beginning, it loses 2% every hour. So by the time you get it into your table, there's not much left, right? Living food is different. That's growing while you're eating it. So you can't make food that's dead on the plate to suddenly be alive in your body. So geneticist Harvard of UC, he created a new aging clock based on epigenetics and is the DNA alteration. And he tested like 13,000 human tissue, and he had more than 90% accuracy for a person's chronological age. And his tool to measure the genetic age is methylation. Well, the next picture, if I get it, is a finding by Harvard, and it's that in the case of breast cancer, the affected tissue, so the breast tissue, actually was several years older than the rest of the body. So why? Can you imagine? So then a study by Ontario University, Canada, they found that the breast tissue actually had E. coli, staph infection, and bacillus that a woman that had healthy breast tissue didn't have. Where would I get that from? Where would E. coli and bacillus and where would staph come from? Just appear in the breast tissue and be a part of why I had cancer? So I would say it comes very much from the microbes. And creating a good microbiota, there could not be any animal-based foods. With their steroids, their antibiotics, and the persistency of diseases that comes with this. So we'll talk more about that. But environmental factors causing mutation, of course, stress, smoking, alcohol, you name it. Now, and I'm really happy what's just happening, because for sure I've been a talker about breast implants, that women should never, ever do breast implants. If anything we do, we take our own fat, and it's been spun, and you separate fat and stem cells, and you put it back in. But now women are taking them out. So it's just happening. Yeah, it's just got on the news yesterday. Women are taking them out in tons and tons. And that was such an amazing thing to hear, because we have, even in our team here that's here, we've heard many stories of how, oh gosh, sorry. We're going too far. Let's go back to the breast. Okay, sorry. And one more. There we go. And so the horror stories of having breast implants, so any of you that have breast implants, I hope you take them out when you can, because they are going to leak sooner or later. They're going to be a part of your lymph, and they're not going to drain. They're not going to drain like other waste products do. They're going to stay in your system, and they're going to cause a lot of problems for you. So next, now we can go next. Thank you. Neither gene expression nor methylation are, of course, a direct measure of the damage that time inflicts of the body cells as they age. So there's so many different answers. But like, did you do this exercise this morning? Did you walk? Did you stretch? And remember, the less you do, the less you can do. So, we see a lot of people, when Brian and I go to the gym, that have problems, that have arthritis and normally have pain. But the pain goes away when they work out. And pain goes away when you eat this diet. Yesterday I sat with one woman that came here with pain. She said, I can't imagine, I've only been here 2 weeks, and I have no pain. I have lived with pain for years. I have no more pain. It drives you nuts when you really think about it, that all you needed to do was to change your lifestyle, your attitude about it. And yes, people are going to say, why are you doing this? Why now I can't feed you anymore. I don't know what you need. Then we just bring food and we share food. And, don't give in, because people are going to be intimidated, because instinctively we all know that this is the right thing to do. So now we can go to the next. Mitochondria. That's the cell's powerhouse. And it's required to assist the white blood cells the macrophage to vacuum clean dead cells before they create inflammatory disease, which results in aging. And these are so important in youthfulness. They produce energy for the cells. And, you know, aging and lifespan are regulated by the rate of energy metabolism. Low rate, longer life. So if I eat a heavy processed diet, that's going to take a lot of metabolism, and it's going to shorten your life. And of course, mitochondria does much more than making energy for your cells. It also generates reactive oxygen toxic species. You hear about ROS during your respiration, and they move toxic stuff out of you. So now we reside in cities. Well, it increase poor food consumption. Well, high speed, unconscious robotic living reduces natural instincts. By 2050, we'll be 9 to 10 billion people. 6.5 billion will live in urban areas. And our food choices are shaped by where we live and where we work. So the access to quality food, you know, when we live in cities, we want to have convenient food. We want to have food that is time-saving. We want the go food, right? And so what does it take to bring food on your table? You have the production, the processing, the packaging, the storage, distribution, etc. And a third of our solid waste is the package that it's in. So we consume more beef, more poultry, more pork, more dairy, more refined sugar, more alcohol. And as 81% of the population lives in urban areas, it shifts our diet. Our diet used to be grains, beans, fruits, vegetables, but it's also inspiring new innovations, and we're starting with this vertical farming, and which a lot of people do in their own house now. And we go to farmers market. We have and community gardens been around for a long time, but they're coming back in big time. So Dr. Russell Reiter, as well as a Finnish scientist, exposed that dementia, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, obesity, etc., can be precipitated by negative electromagnetic fields. Well, so that is what we get from wires carrying electricity, cell phone, Wi-Fi, and smart meters. And probably you have smart meter on your house like we got, and we had to protect ourselves from that. And because in the old days, people would come to your house and measure, and now they want to sit in their office and measure it for you. And it's horrendous, and some places have option to just pay extra fee every month to have them come to your house. And you definitely have to protect, and there are innovations that can protect that. And it actually depresses melatonin, and it reacts with our physiological biochemistry of the body. So something that I've been working with is Germany's professor, Dr. Wallet. EMF interruption technology has now been molded into a personal protection detection and device. And Hippocrates created called the HHI pulse. And so HHI pulse is something that I was a part of. So all of us are saturated with disease-causing waves due to our electronic dependency, growing every day, right? Dr. Wallet is a pioneer in the field of biofrequency medicine. With his colleagues, he patented quartz on cloth. This will diffuse abnormal currents that affects us even emotionally. as it's affected as much as our cells are. So our body and mind weakens due to the invisible electromagnetic emissions. So wearing the pulse is relieving 99% of this effect. And this is a great feeling when you wear it. You protect yourself. Of course, I never want to keep my phone in the pocket. Any of you people here that are having a phone in your pocket, take it out, put it in your bag. You men better get a man's bag. The thing is, you don't want to keep things right on your body. So this has been a good help. Now, the perpetual consumption of food is due to something called hedonic hunger. That's when we eat for pleasure and not for nutritional substance. And fats and sweets change brain chemistry. And that drives us into overconsumption. So we're eating for pleasure, not for survival. It's regulated by hypothalamus that's involved in the reward circuit pathway. So the brain's reward center stabilizes dopamine by not eating stimulating substances, but nutritious plant-based foods. So, we're living in a time where we want to eat for pleasure. We don't want to eat because it's nutritious, right? And the more we do that, the worse it gets. Because our reward center creates a certain amount of dopamine. And when I'm eating the nutritious food we have with live food and plant-based vegan food, I'm filled. You ask anybody that's on this great living food program if they're hungry, they will tell you, I'm not hungry. If you come into the Institute and ask our whole guest population there, are you hungry? Which I do sometimes, it's like nobody's hungry, because the body is satiated. The Finnish scientist Numena revealed that the brain's opioid receptor sites are satiated when the stomach feels nourished. So we're full. This reduces caloric intake, adding years to your life. And Hippocrates' Living Food Program provides a full spectrum of disease and age prevention nutrients. And it's a wonderful feeling not to be hungry. And I never forget, we had a 40-year-old stand up at our graduations, which we have every Friday. And he said, for 40 years, I don't remember not being hungry. It's been my life. I'm always hungry. This is the first time in my life I'm not hungry. So you make better choices when you're not hungry. And if you're hungry and you go into the store, you're going to buy everything under the sun. So, take care of yourself and start eating well. Animal-based proteins spikes insulin even more than the beneficial carbohydrates. Chicken, dairy, beef, eggs, fish, whey protein spikes insulin 30 to 50 times more than all the veggies, the fruits, the nuts, the avocados. 30 to 50% more. No way, no way. Remember that. So Dr. Esselstyn, Dr. Ornish, and Hippocrates have definitely found connection between animal-based food, and strokes, and heart attacks. Every day, 2,400 Americans die from this. And in the early 1900s, it was like 8%. Now it's about nearly 50%. Insulin disturbs hormones that release telomere and the immune cell's destructive mechanism. And here's Brian's book, Sweet Disease, and it is the most revealing book in history about how sugar is a fuel for disease and creates disease. So insulin resistance is one of the leading causes of oxidative stress and brain disorder. So you probably heard about diabetes type 1, type 2, But there is type 3. Type 3 is, so you know that the pancreas make insulin for the whole body to be able, so the body can absorb sugar into the cells and be your part of your fuel. So then the brain, a part called hippocampus, which is the memory and the learning center in your brain, it makes insulin. And once that is messed up, just like it would be messed up with the pancreas not being able to produce enough, here goes our memory. We can't learn new things. Dementia. But not only dementia, Alzheimer, Parkinson, and Huntington's can happen. Oh, here we go again. Well, the next one is also about fats and sugars. Activates the brain reward circuit more than cocaine does. I think it's about 20 times more than cocaine. Look at her. There goes the donuts. So there is a dopamine spike signaling pleasure. It super stimulates the brain with it. So long-term health effects of sugar versus cocaine. Well, so sugar, of course, creates obesity, diabetes, heart problem. Cocaine creates seizures, heart problems, lung problems, kidney problem. And, you know, hunger is mainly regulated by the hypothalamus in the brain, and that's involved in the reward circuit. So a British research has discovered a link between maternal sugar consumption and allergies and asthma. So the more sugar we eat while we're pregnant, the more risk we give to our child to have allergies. And other studies have shown obesity and, you know, a lot of problems that could come from that. And this came out of Queen Mary University, and it showed that they were 38% more likely to develop this. And you know, U.S. Department of Agriculture showed that only 2% of American kids actually eat healthy. 2% only eat healthy. So I can't talk enough about breast milk being the first food for a child with all the good bacteria, with the microbes that you get from your mom, with the good protein, and with your immunity. So you get your antibodies from your mother. And so nursing, of course, is the first food we ever should have had. And most of us did not have that, so our microbiota probably didn't start well, but we do the best we can. We do the best we can. And hopefully women will come back to nursing, and our children in future will be so much healthier. So neuro and endocrinologists unlocked the significance of olfactory. Olfactory is the brain. It's the brain, really. It's a smell. It's a sense, but it's a smell factory, which influences the metabolism and even aging. Metabolism, the pathway to either long or short life. The olfactory, it has a very high density of receptors of metabolic hormones, such as insulin, and leptin and ghrelin, which also helps us in monitor our food intake and hunger and all that. Certain food odors are evolutionary, hardwired to get physiological responses and could interfere with our lifespan. So what it means is we are instinctively attracted to certain odors, and we change that. Well, that probably started in the womb, right? But we changed that, and these receptors that we have, so you have taste buds on your tongue. Well, then you have taste receptors all throughout your body, from brain and down, your lungs, your heart, your kidneys, your liver, everywhere you have taste receptors. And these are the actually first immunity response that you have in your body. And it's amazing when you change lifestyle. So the first week, for example, if you were at the Institute right now, the first week the food would be like, okay, salad again, sprouts again, juice again. And then as time goes by, what you thought was bland the first week, by the third week you will say, I wish the chef would have made these food the first week because I love it now. Well, it's your taste buds, your taste receptors are now changing. And these foods now that's what you will be attracted to. So seeing it with our own kids, Brian and I was not brought up this way. I was brought up on standard Swedish diet with a lot of fried foods, a lot of course, meat, fish, chicken, and lots of bread, lots of dairy products. And that's what I would be attracted to unless I changed. So don't ever take no for an answer, because you change, they change. But you have to let it happen. So it's not going to happen overnight. And so if you try anything and you give it a few days only, it's not going to happen. You have to give it longer time. And 3 weeks, our program is 3 weeks because that's the minimum of the time it takes to be ready to change lifestyle. So Harvard Skerritt writes that retirement generally is not good or bad for one's longevity. Well, it's your passion, involvement, and activity level that determines the result, right? So the two most dangerous years in your life is when you were first born and when you retired. 30% are more likely to die in the first year of retirement. Boy, that was supposed to be such a happy time in our life. Well, it ranked high in life's most stressful times. A lot of people don't feel that they have a purpose anymore. We got to get the purpose. We got to get the passion. We need to create hobbies. We need to have create some place we can go and volunteer. And it's about the attitude of that time in our life. And I think that's the time that, although Brian and I can't retire, no, we have too much fun in our work, but we probably will slow down. And the thing is, I want to spend time with my grandkids. We have 7 grandkids, and who knows, maybe more coming. But it's so important to spend time with family, to have close relationships. So, we don't want to get into retirement and not have that. And so it could be a dangerous time. Now, in his 1945 Nobel Prize speech, a Nobel laureate, Alexander Fleming, he warned against extensive antibiotic use between birth and 2 years old. In this vulnerable time, this drug is used more than ever. And for 70 years, antibiotic has been a pillar of medicine. And the damage to the bacteria, the microbes, is so important, that are so important during the early years of life, and it's actually increasing risk of interference, like celiac, like diabetes, like colitis, and obesity. So, there is time for antibiotic, and there is time to use natural methods. And, I think every parent needs to learn more, be more educated, and I think every parent is the best doctor for their child if they are educated, if they are raising them on a vegan, plant-based, organic diet. They probably will not have the problems. I never forget, in Sweden, years ago, they realized that for ear infection, antibiotic had been used so much it didn't work anymore. So they actually told about echinacea. I was like, I can't believe it. They were talking on prime time that as antibiotic doesn't function for ear infection, use echinacea. So, you know, we get, of course, a lot of these animal-based foods devastate the immune system. It's filled with antibiotics, and when consumed, it provokes antibiotic resistance. So that is a big part, of course, why we are immune to it too. And I think every parent needs to realize that you have the power, you have the tools if you learn how to live on a lifestyle that has been tested and used for so many years. And you know, it's nothing new under the sun. Probably your grandparents knew all what I'm talking about, except a few little scientists research. But they instinctively knew that you are what you eat, and that I can't eat junk and then expect my health to be vibrant and healthy. I think we have responsibility as a parent to do that. And you know, it's sad that we've come so far that we expect other people to look after the nutrition of our own kids. Our kids have never had to have antibiotic because their immune system was so incredibly strong through nursing, through the live foods, and you know, a happy environment too, of parents that loved them and cared for them and taught them the A's and Z's of this is what you do when this happens. And you know, we are here to do that. Not everybody needs to know everything, but you can learn from people that knows. So let's take care of the little ones. I think we go to the next one. So brain researcher Joel Briel reported that learning language, playing instruments, or the act of deep contemplation calms the brain, regulating longevity, enhancing neuroactivity and chemistry. So Dalai Lama, 2000, he launched something called contemplative neuroscience. And he was studying Buddhist meditators, and they had to be meditating for 10,000 hours and plus. So that showed how the adult brain still can be transformed through learning new things. And that, like new instrument, language, and it actually showed changes in the region that controls that movement. And it actually made it larger. So it was keeping our intelligence, and it actually rewired brain circuits. Amazing. So you never stop learning. So pick up new language, pick up something new, take a course in something you never thought you needed to learn, and keep that brain circuit, keep it going, keep it growing. And next, today for the first time, a comprehensive understanding of the aging process and how we may slow it down brings us necessary tools to prolong our life. Well, with a growing realization that lifestyle and factors and habits plays a much more important role than genes. Having a great purpose, participating in the family, cooking, preparing, growing some of your own food, exercise, walking a lot. That's the big part. So, you know, the thing is that genes have been playing such a big role. And if you're hearing that, oh, you have genes, this is my genes, I'm going to have this problem, my mom had it, my sister had it, and this is what I'm going to have. So you hear, much more important than your genes is the lifestyle that you choose. Much more important. So you don't have to get the problems that other people had in your family just because of genes. So don't get into that hole where fear and anxiety brings you, because that's going to make you sick. That will make you sick. So when cherishing your life, next, join us in this exciting movement towards abundant life. And we want to live a long, healthy life. Take full responsibility for how you think, how you move, and enjoy life. Make it the best time of your life. Make it so that you can look back on time. Let's say we make it to 100. You look back at time and you say, I did everything I ever wanted to do. I had everything that I ever wanted. And the ups and downs of life makes us stronger. The ups and downs are there to teach us lessons. And we didn't just come out perfect, none of us, but we are here to learn and experience. And the more that you take care of yourself, the more you're going to take care of your environment. So thank you, and I'll be ready for questions. Thank you. Are there any questions about anything? Or you're mesmerized? Yes? When you travel, yes. What do you do? Bring your food? We bring food. We bring a lot of food. Like right now, I have in the fridge here, I have my sprouts. I have all kinds of lettuce and my avocados. Of course, I can't bring in an abundance like I have at home, but I don't need abundance all the time either. So I take a few things. I take supplements with me and support the action of my life, and with exercise, get to exercise every morning and relax. Of course, the relaxation is a big part, that you take time to meditate. And, you know, at the Institute we have plenty of that, and plenty of yoga and Tai Chi, Qigong, and exercise in the pool and in the gym, and, you know, so we do what we can when we travel, but we stay healthy. Well, we can't afford to come back and not be healthy. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Something new that activates immunity, and I didn't quite catch that. The new thing at your center that activates immunity.
Yeah, so that is Nucom. And Nucom is amazing. It's actually it's a tiny little machine. It's amazing, and it follows vibration, and you have earphones, and you can choose different music, and it gets you into the beta state. And you would have to meditate for many hundreds of hours to get to that place otherwise. So it's helping people. It's helping them sleep better, relax better. And especially, you know, if you're going through now crisis, let's say I was told I had cancer, or I've been through all cancer treatments, or I have arthritis or diabetes, whatever, and I have that big anxiety, what's my life going to be next? You need to calm down, because every cell in your body they actually knows what you're thinking. They go with you there, or they go with you there. And you know, when you're happy, you usually don't catch a cold when you're happy. You catch a cold when you're stressed, and you're anxious and you've gone through a lot of anger or something, that's when they come in. I always look at it as these populations as taking advantage. They come in when I'm over-acidic and when I'm not sleeping well, when I'm malnourished, and they come in, they take advantage. And so what I need to do at that time, I need to create the balance. Then your immune system takes care of it itself. It is an impeccable, intelligent, you cannot compare it with anything else. I mean, it knows what to do. How did we survive? I mean, they found an upper jaw from Ethiopia 2.4 million years ago. And you know, human beings, as we are the breed from Neanderthal and Denisovans, how did we survive all these hundreds of thousands of years? So your immune system knows what to do. Create a good system by lifestyle, by your thinking, by exercise. It's so simple. It drives me nuts because every day we have people that are leaving after every Thursday and Friday people are leaving after 3 weeks. And they graduate on Friday and then they leave Saturday, and new groups come in on Sunday. Every Sunday people come in with the same anxiety and pain and fear and all that. 3 weeks later, it's gone. 3 weeks later, they're saying, I can't believe it. And it really drives me nuts because this should be a part of allopathic medicine. We need to have a marriage between it. Yeah. We need to have a marriage between it, and we can't go on having two sections that first you do allopathic medicine and then out of your own pocket you have to pay for holistic medicine. You know, holistic medicine is what it was. Like more than 100 years ago, it was totally holistic. And then it turned to allopathic. And they kind of just threw out holistic medicine as if it hadn't existed for hundreds and hundreds of years before that. And it's time that it comes back because people are suffering and children are suffering. And, it drives you nuts just thinking about it, that we could be a part of it. We could help so many people. And so many people, I'm saying so many people in this field that could be organized together if we had a chance to work with allopathic medicine. And, like Dr. Ornish, of course, showed what the diet does for cardiac problems, heart attacks and stroke. I mean, eliminated it. We don't need to have this suffering. And all the medication that comes with that is creating more suffering and more diseases. So, anybody who's taking medicine knows you're creating one thing and then you need medicine for that thing, and then it just goes on and on. So, look for people that are working holistic, look for education, and hopefully these 10 days you are going to get so much. I hope you follow, and for the world that's looking, I hope you follow it for the 10 days because you are going to be totally pumped up of amazing information. So who's next? Yeah. Yes?
Two questions. The first question is, would you suggest any of the plant-based food to supply enough vitamin B2 and B12 to help with our brain function? That's the first question. Second question is regarding the cardiac functions, and what kind of a plant-based food will supply enough omega-3 or omega-6 to help with the cardiac functions?
Well, great questions. So, one of the suggestions we have for all the guests is to take B12. B12 is a soil-based organism, right? It's a bacteria. It's not a vitamin. So we don't have it in meat. We don't have it in fish. We don't have it in the products that we all thought that we were. So we were railroaded about that. It is plant-based, and it needs to, yes, on a vegan diet, I will get some, but as our soil, our soil are about 70% depleted. So a lot of organism is depleted in that too. So we suggest you take a good plant-based, soil-based B12. And when it comes to omega-3, my goodness, all the sprouts have some. Some nuts that we don't eat, like the peanuts and the cashew, but most of the other nuts, like walnuts and Brazil nuts, of course, are filled with that. We eat chia seeds, we eat hemp seed, we eat flax seeds. We definitely get our essential fatty acids. It's not a problem. But if I start as a vegan and all I'm going to eat is some lettuce and cucumber and a tomato, that's not going to go there. Avocados, of course, have it. So our diet is well-rounded, and I can now add omega-3 from sage oil, and that has been amazing to help people too. So a lot of sources. And, I don't want you to get stuck in that omega-3 comes from fish, because that is not the source. That's not the source that we would suggest anybody to have. If you have it at home, I think you should pour it on your plants outside, not in your body. Okay.
So you made a mention of the fact that children with autism, for example,
Yes.
children with autism received a tremendous relief through
Yes.
nutritional sort of intervention. Anything you can say about children with cerebral palsy and individuals with arthritis as far as like reversal of symptoms?
Oh, arthritis is my homework. I directed a clinic in Stockholm, and every day people would come severely arthritic, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, gout, you name it. And that is absolutely reversible. A lot of times, though, people have had the problems for many, many years with heavy-duty steroids and anti-inflammatory and painkillers, and it's not going to happen overnight. And so it depends on, but mobility will come. Absolutely, mobility will come. You never take no for an answer with that. When it comes to cerebral palsy, yes, we've had families coming with their children with that. And of course, that is also from birth. That is from the birth that a lot of this happened. What can I do for that? What can living food do for that? What can the therapies that we do? Not only do we have the Nucom, the hyperbaric, that would be good. We can do electromagnetic field. We use now something called QRS, amazing therapy, and we use Theragem, we use laser, so non-invasive laser. So these are all non-invasive therapies. So we can do a lot, and we can do a lot for their general health, that we know. So, how much more we can do, it's really up to everybody, and continuing, because it obviously will take time. Yeah.
Oh, me? Okay. I've been plant-based for about 6 years now. It's made absolutely wonderful changes in my life. I'm off all medications. I lost a lot of weight. I mean, it's been absolutely wonderful. But I've been looking at something that has been having amazing results, stem cell research. Mm-hmm. Have you guys been looking into that? I mean, are you planning on bringing it into Hippocrates?
We actually have, and last year we had an amazing doctor that probably will come into our team, and who's doing that, who actually even have results with ALS. And, of course, we work also, and probably teaching right now is Dr. Maharaj, who has a stem cell institute, and some of our guests do the same. They do our program, and they do his program of stem cell. And we just had a wonderful man from England who went through the program with his cancer, and he's totally cancer-free from the mix of the two of us. And some of our guests with MS stay at our place and go through our program and the stem cell. That's the future. It's going to be the future. A lot of people now are saving their stem cells for another day that they might need it, and to help them to recover from diseases too. So, it's very much this, but that what you do with the diet like you have, when it's live, when it's organic, when it's vegan, and you've seen, you got rid of your medications. So your stem cells are repairing constantly. And normally as we age, they slow down. You will see, you have seen, as you improved all that, they didn't slow down. So it is lifestyle very much. Well, that's it. Okay, thank you guys, thank you.